The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built by intelligent life. It stretched across 3 kilometers of crystal and metal, floating in the void between stars. Inside its massive chamber, representatives from over 400 alien species had gathered for what they believed would be a simple vote. The matter before them was the future of a young species called humanity. Ambassador of the Dominion stood at the center of the hall. He was tall and covered in violet scales that shifted color with his mood. 4 muscular arms extended from his torso, and when he spoke, his words clicked and hissed before the translator turned them into something everyone could understand. The had dominated galactic politics for 2,000 years and carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never lost an important vote. The motion before this council is simple, announced. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. Humanity must be banned from galactic trade routes. They must be excluded from military alliances. They must be forbidden from colonizing any world beyond their own solar system. They must be contained before they spread their chaos across our carefully ordered galaxy. Sounds of agreement rose from dozens of delegations. There were tall, insect-like beings with clicking mandibles and compound eyes. They clattered their approval loudly. There were clouds of intelligent gas contained within floating spheres, and they swirled in patterns that indicated amusement. There were massive creatures made of living rock, and when they rumbled their agreement, the floor of the chamber shook. In the far corner of the hall sat the human delegation. Their section was small and positioned in a place that made it clear how little the council thought of them. Commander Daniel Hayes sat with his hands folded on the table before him. He was a man in his early 50s with gray hair cut short and a face that revealed nothing of his thoughts. Beside him sat Dr. Lisa Marsh, a woman in her 40s who served as Earth's senior diplomatic representative to the council. She had brown hair pulled back in a practical style and eyes that missed nothing. Continued his speech with obvious pleasure. Humanity has been traveling among the stars for less than 300 years. In that short time, they have already demonstrated every quality that makes a species dangerous to galactic civilization. They are violent beyond reason. Their own history is filled with wars fought over territory, resources, and ideas. They have killed billions of their own kind. Lisa kept her face neutral as she took notes on her tablet. Daniel sat perfectly still. They are emotional and unpredictable, went on. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. They form attachments that cloud their judgment. They take risks that no rational species would consider. Laughter rippled through the chamber. A representative made a gesture that translated as mockery. A delegate shook his massive head slowly. Perhaps most concerning, said, is that they cannot even maintain peace among themselves. They still fight over resources they have in abundance. They still argue over borders and beliefs. If they cannot agree with their own kind, how can we expect them to function within our galactic community? Representative of the collective rose to speak. There were slender beings with silver skin and large dark eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy for their intelligence and their tendency to look down on younger species. The ambassador speaks truth, said. Humanity has nothing to offer this council. They are primitive. They are unstable. They are a danger not only to themselves but to everyone they encounter. I urge all members to vote in favor of containment before these creatures cause damage that cannot be undone. More sounds of approval followed. Daniel leaned toward Lisa and spoke quietly. How does the vote look? Lisa checked her tablet and kept her voice low. 312 in favor of the ban, 47 opposed. The rest are not voting either way. We have lost, Daniel. Daniel nodded slowly. He had expected this outcome. Humanity was young and small and strange by galactic standards. They had no powerful allies and no leverage. The great powers of the galaxy had decided that humans were too much trouble to deal with, and there was apparently nothing that could change their minds. But Lisa was not ready to give up. There might be something, she said. Her fingers moved across her tablet, pulling up a file she had kept hidden for months. "Do you remember the incident?" Daniel frowned. That was classified at the highest level. A stellar event threatened one of the colony worlds. The official report said it resolved itself naturally. The official report was a lie. Lisa turned her tablet so Daniel could see the file. "This is the actual footage from that day. I obtained it through channels I cannot discuss. The Council suppressed it because it would have embarrassed several major powers. But if we are going to be thrown out of galactic civilization anyway, I think the truth deserves to be told." Daniel studied the file for a long moment. Then he looked up at the podium where was accepting congratulations from other delegates, clearly confident that victory was already his. "Do it," Daniel said. Lisa stood up from her seat. Her movement drew attention, and the chamber gradually fell quiet. A human requesting to speak was unusual enough to spark curiosity even among those who wanted nothing to do with humanity. "I request the floor," Lisa announced. Turned to look at her. His scales shifted to a color that suggested irritation mixed with amusement. "The human delegation wishes to speak? How charming. Very well. You may have 5 minutes to delay what cannot be stopped." Lisa walked toward the central platform. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. 400 species watched the small human woman approach the speaking position with expressions ranging from pity to contempt to boredom. When she reached the platform, Lisa turned to face the assembly. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, before you cast your final vote on the fate of humanity, I believe you deserve to see something. 6 months ago, the colony world of Prime faced destruction. Your official records state that a natural stellar event threatened the planet and then resolved itself without intervention. Those records are false." The chamber stirred. Several delegates exchanged glances. Scales began shifting toward an uncertain gray. "I have obtained the actual footage from that day," Lisa continued. "I have recordings of what really happened and who was responsible for saving 2 billion lives. I request permission to display this footage for the full council." Stepped forward quickly. "That footage is classified for reasons of galactic security. The Council has no obligation to—" "Galactic security," Lisa interrupted. "Or galactic embarrassment. What exactly is this Council trying to hide?" High Arbiter of the Neutral Worlds raised one of her 6 appendages. She was ancient even by galactic standards, her body withered but her mind still sharp. She had earned her position by never taking sides and always demanding truth. "Let the footage play," commanded. "If there is deception in our records, we must know of it. Truth is the foundation of justice." Started to object, but the High Arbiter silenced him with a look. The chamber waited in tense anticipation. Lisa connected her tablet to the central display system. The lights dimmed throughout the massive hall. Above the assembly, the holographic projectors came to life. "What you are about to see," Lisa said quietly, "is what happened when 2 billion people needed help and the galaxy refused to answer. What you are about to see is what humans do when the impossible stands before them." The recording began to play, and the truth that had been hidden for 6 months finally came into the light. The holographic display filled the chamber with light. Stars appeared all around the delegates, so real that some of them flinched. At the center of the projection hung a beautiful green and blue world. Prime, home to nearly 2 billion intelligent beings. Orbiting the planet were the elegant warships of the Galactic Defense Fleet, representing a dozen different species. A timestamp appeared in the corner of the display, 6 standard months in the past. The recorded voice of Admiral of the Defense Command crackled through the chamber. His words were quick and professional, the voice of a military officer reporting facts. "Unknown object detected emerging from hyperspace. Classification unknown. Size unprecedented. All vessels are ordered to defensive positions immediately." The view shifted, and the chamber went silent. Several delegates gasped. Others made sounds of fear that needed no translation. Something was coming through a tear in space itself. It was not a ship. It was not a natural phenomenon like a comet or asteroid. It was alive. The creature stretched across thousands of kilometers, larger than many moons. Its surface was dark and constantly moving. What might have been mouths opened and closed across its body? What might have been eyes gleamed with cold hunger? Tentacles longer than some planets extended in all directions, reaching toward the world before it. "Avoid Leviathan," someone whispered in the council chamber. "That is impossible. They were destroyed thousands of years ago. None have been seen in living memory." But the footage showed otherwise. The creature was real, and it was moving toward Prime with terrible purpose. Admiral's voice continued on the recording. "All ships engage defensive protocols. Protect the colony at all costs. For the sake of everything we hold sacred, protect the colony." The Galactic Defense Fleet moved to intercept the creature. These were the finest warships in the galaxy, built by species that had been traveling among the stars for tens of thousands of years. Plasma beams as hot as the cores of suns streaked toward the void Leviathan. Quantum torpedoes capable of cracking moons detonated against its flesh. Weapons that had ended wars and destroyed civilizations struck the creature again and again. The void Leviathan did not slow down. The weapons hit its body and disappeared like drops of rain falling into an ocean. The creature did not even seem to notice. "All weapons ineffective," Admiral reported. His voice remained steady, but there was fear underneath it now. "Requesting immediate reinforcement from all council sectors. Repeat, all weapons ineffective. The creature is continuing toward the planet." The fleet kept firing. Ships repositioned and tried different approaches. They aimed for the eyes, they aimed for the mouths, they aimed for the tentacles. Nothing worked. "Colony evacuation is impossible," Admiral announced. "Population is too large. We do not have enough transport ships to remove even a small fraction of the inhabitants. Estimated time until the creature reaches the planet is 4 hours. 4 hours until 2 billion people died. All council species in range, please respond. This is an extinction-level event. All council species, please respond." The responses came through one by one, and each one made the silence in the current council chamber heavier. The Dominion responded first. "Our nearest fleet is 3 days away at maximum speed. We cannot provide assistance. We recommend focusing on evacuating essential personnel only." The Confederacy was next. "We regret that our forces are currently engaged in military exercises in another sector. We cannot redirect them in time. Our thoughts are with the people of Prime." The assembly followed. "Our analysis indicates that the creature cannot be defeated with conventional weapons. Engaging it would result in the loss of our ships without changing the outcome. We recommend accepting the inevitable and preserving military assets for future use." The collective sent a message of sympathy, but offered no ships. They responded with calculations showing that intervention was mathematically pointless. One by one, the great powers of the galaxy refused to help. Some gave excuses. Some gave apologies. Some gave nothing at all. 2 billion people were about to die, and no one was coming to save them. In the council chamber, Lisa paused the recording. The delegates sat in uncomfortable silence. Many of them were seeing their own species refuse to help, hearing their own governments choose safety over sacrifice. "Every major power in this galaxy did the same calculation," Lisa said quietly. "The creature was too powerful. The losses would be too great. Better to sacrifice one world than to risk the fleets that protect your own territories." She looked around the chamber. 2 billion people, children, families, artists and scientists and farmers and teachers, all of them written off as acceptable losses. Lisa resumed the recording. On the display, Admiral was still calling for help. His voice was growing desperate now. Time was running out. The void Leviathan was getting closer. Then a new signal appeared on the screen. A small ship was approaching at maximum speed, pushing its engines beyond their safe limits. Defense Command, this is the Earth vessel Resolute. Captain Park commanding. We picked up your distress signal. What is your situation? Admiral responded with exhaustion in his voice. Resolute, the situation cannot be saved. A void Leviathan is approaching the colony. Our weapons cannot harm it. No other forces are coming to help. Estimated time until planetary destruction is now less than 4 hours. You cannot help us. Save yourselves. Turn around and get as far away from here as possible. There was a pause. Then Captain Park's voice came through again. He sounded calm, almost relaxed, as if he were discussing the weather rather than the end of a world. Admiral, I appreciate the warning, but that is not how we do things. We are coming. Hold the line as long as you can. We will be there in 4 hours at current speed. You do not understand, Admiral said. The creature cannot be stopped. Your ship is small. Your weapons will be useless. You will die for nothing. Maybe, Captain Park agreed. But those are our people down there on that planet. They might not be human, but they are still our people. Every living being who needs help is our people. We are coming, Admiral. We will find a way or we will die trying. That is the only choice we know how to make. The recording showed the Resolute burning toward Prime. It was a small ship compared to the elegant warships of the Galactic Defense Fleet. It was blocky and plain, built for function rather than beauty. It had none of the grace of cruisers or the deadly elegance of fighters. But it was coming. While the great powers of the galaxy made excuses and calculated losses, one small human ship with a crew of 300 was racing towards certain death because they could not accept doing nothing. Lisa let the image freeze on the display. The Resolute hung in the holographic stars, tiny and determined and impossibly brave. One ship, Lisa said to the Council. 300 humans. They knew exactly what they were flying into. They knew the odds. They knew that every species more powerful than them had already given up, and they came anyway. She looked at Ambassador, whose scales had gone pale. You wanted to know what humanity has to offer this galaxy. Keep watching. The recording continued. The recording continued playing in the vast council chamber. Every delegate watched in silence as the small human vessel pushed its engines beyond their limits, racing toward a monster that had shrugged off the weapons of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The timestamp showed 3 hours and 47 minutes until the void Leviathan would reach Prime. Captain Park's voice came through the ship's internal communication system. He was speaking to his crew. All hands, this is the captain. I am not going to pretend that you do not know what we are flying into. You have all seen the reports. You know what that creature is. You know that our weapons will not hurt it. You know that every major fleet in the galaxy has refused to engage it because they believe it cannot be defeated. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was softer but still steady. We are 300 people on a ship that was never designed for this kind of fight. We are outmatched in every way that matters. I will not order any of you to stay. The escape pods are unlocked. Anyone who wants to leave, go now. I will not hold it against you. I will not think less of you. This is not your fight. Silence followed. Then Chief Engineer Torres responded from the engine room. She was a woman in her 30s who had spent her entire adult life keeping ships running in conditions that should have broken them. Captain, engineering reports all stations manned and ready. No one is going anywhere. Weapons Officer Cole spoke next from the tactical station on the bridge. He was young, barely 30, but his voice was calm and certain. Weapons standing by, Captain. All systems operational. Ready on your command. One by one, every department reported in. Navigation, medical, damage control, life support, communications. Every single section confirmed that their people were staying at their posts. 300 humans had been given the chance to escape certain death, and not one of them had taken it. "Understood," Captain Park said quietly. "It is an honor to serve with all of you. Now let us figure out how to kill this thing." The recording showed the bridge of the Resolute as the command crew gathered around the tactical display. The void Leviathan filled most of the screen, its impossible bulk blocking out the stars behind it. "Standard weapons are useless," said. "We watched the defense fleet throw everything they had at it. Nothing penetrated the outer layers." Pulled up sensor data on another screen. "The creature is mostly organic. It has something like a metabolism. It must have some kind of internal structure that keeps it alive." "So we need to get inside," Captain Park said slowly. "Hit it from within where it might be vulnerable." Shook his head. "Captain, even if we could get inside the creature, our weapons would not do enough damage. We would need something massive, something that could destroy it from the center." The bridge went quiet. Everyone understood what was not saying. The only thing on the Resolute powerful enough to destroy something that large was the ship itself, specifically the reactor core. Captain Park spoke without hesitation. "Then that is what we will do. We fly into the creature and detonate the reactor inside its body." "Captain," the ship's doctor said carefully, "there would be no time to evacuate. The crew would not survive." "I know." Captain Park looked at the faces of his officers. "Anyone who wants to object, speak now." No one spoke. "Good, then let us make this count." Captain Park opened a channel to Admiral and the Galactic Defense Fleet. "This is the Resolute. We have analyzed the creature and developed a plan. It is not a good plan. It is desperate and dangerous, and it will almost certainly kill everyone aboard this ship. But it is the only option we have." Admiral responded with confusion in his voice. "What are you proposing?" "The creature is organic. That means it has internal organs. We are going to fly directly into its mouth and detonate our reactor core inside its central mass. The explosion should destroy it from within." There was a long silence on the channel. "You will all die," Admiral said finally. "Probably," Captain Park agreed. "But 2 billion people on that planet will live. That is a trade we are willing to make. The question is whether you are willing to help us. We need the defense fleet to distract the creature long enough for us to make our approach. Draw its attention. Keep its tentacles busy. Give us a clear run at the mouth." "You are asking us to fight a creature that cannot be harmed," Admiral said. "Ships will be lost. Lives will be spent." "Yes, I am asking you to be brave." Captain Park's voice was hard now. "I am asking you to stop calculating acceptable losses and start fighting for the people who are counting on you. Every species out there told Prime that you could not help. We are telling you that you can. The question is whether you will." For a long moment, nothing happened. The defense fleet hung motionless around the planet while the void Leviathan drew ever closer. Then Admiral spoke again. "Resolute, this is Defense Command. We are with you." Other voices joined in. Captain of the vessel Whisper reported that his ship would provide cover. The cruiser Dominant announced that it was moving to support position. The dreadnought Stoneheart committed to the attack pattern. The fleet that had been preparing to flee was now reforming into an attack formation. Not because they believed they could win. Not because they thought they would survive. But because 300 humans had refused to give up, and that courage was spreading. The next 90 minutes were shown in accelerated time on the recording. The Galactic Defense Fleet engaged the void Leviathan with everything they had. They could not hurt it, but they could annoy it. They struck at its eyes and its tentacles. They flew close and then darted away, keeping the creature's attention focused on them instead of the planet. Ships were destroyed, crews died, but the fleet held the line. And the Resolute made its run. The small human ship dove toward the creature's mouth. It was an opening vast enough to swallow entire cities. Tentacles the size of mountains reached for the ship. The Resolute twisted and rolled, dodging strikes that should have destroyed it instantly. Damage accumulated. Atmosphere leaked from breaches in the hull. Fires burned in multiple sections. But the ship kept going. Captain Park's final transmission was broadcast on all frequencies. His voice was calm and clear as the mouth of the void Leviathan filled the view from the bridge. Resolute to all ships, we are in position, initiating reactor overload. It has been an honor serving with you all. He paused. Tell Earth that we did our job. The screen went white. When the light faded, the void Leviathan was gone. Its impossible body was breaking apart, dissolving into the void from which it had emerged. The creature that had threatened to destroy a world was dead, killed by a small ship and 300 people who had refused to accept that nothing could be done. The recording ended. Lisa stood at the center of the council chamber, her face lit by the fading holographic display. 300 humans, she said quietly. They were not the strongest. They did not have the best weapons or the biggest ship, but when 2 billion lives needed saving, they were the ones who showed up. They were the ones who found a way when everyone else had given up. She turned to face the delegates who had been so eager to ban humanity from the galaxy. That is what we are. That is what you are trying to throw away. Council chamber remained silent for a long time after the recording ended. 400 species had just witnessed something that none of them had expected to see. The confident dismissal of humanity had given way to something much more complicated. Ambassador stood frozen at his position. His scales had gone from their usual confident violet to a pale gray that showed his distress. He opened his mouth to speak several times but could not find words. High Arbiter broke the silence. Her ancient voice carried easily through the vast hall. I have a question that demands an answer. Why was this footage hidden from the council? Who gave the order to classify it? No one answered at first. Delegates looked at each other nervously. Several of them were communicating urgently with their home governments through private channels. Finally, an aide approached Ambassador and whispered something in his ear. Scales shifted through several colors before settling on a dull red that indicated shame. The Dominion classified the footage, he admitted stiffly. We believed it would cause unnecessary panic among the general population. Panic, repeated. Her voice was sharp enough to cut through metal. The greatest threat to emerge in 10,000 years appeared and was defeated, and you thought people would panic about that. Or did you fear something else, Ambassador? Your species commands the largest military fleet in the galaxy. Where was that fleet during the incident? Hesitated, his forearms folded and unfolded nervously. Daniel Hayes stood up from the human delegation section and walked toward the center of the chamber. He moved slowly and deliberately, giving everyone time to watch his approach. I can answer that question, Daniel said. The Resolute picked up communications from every major fleet in the sector during the crisis. We have recordings of those communications. He looked directly at. The fleet was not 3 days away. It was less than 12 hours out. Your commanders knew about the Leviathan before anyone else because your sensors detected it emerging from hyperspace. They calculated that engaging the creature would result in significant losses to your fleet. They decided that Prime was not worth the cost. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several delegates rose from their seats in outrage, but waved them back down. His scales had gone almost white. That is a serious accusation, he said quietly. It is the truth. Daniel turned to face the full assembly. And it was not just the fleet was engaged in military exercises less than 6 hours away. Their commanders received the distress call and chose to continue their exercises. The Dreadnought group was 4 hours out and turned back after determining that engagement was too risky. He let his words sink in before continuing. Every major power in this council made the same decision. You calculated the odds. You weighed the costs. You decided that 2 billion lives were not worth the risk. And then you covered it up because you did not want anyone to know that you had chosen to let a world die. 300 humans did not make that calculation, Lisa added from her position. They saw people in danger and they came to help. That is the difference between us and you. From the section where the collective sat, Representative rose slowly to her feet. Her silver skin seemed duller than it had been at the start of the session. Her large, dark eyes were fixed on the empty space where the recording had played. "The humans who died on the Resolute," she said quietly. "They saved my nephew. He was a student on Prime studying interstellar biology. He wanted to understand how life adapts to different environments." Her voice caught slightly. "He is alive today because of what those humans did." She turned to face her fellow delegates. "I voted for the ban. I mocked humanity as primitive and dangerous. I was wrong. I withdraw my support for this motion." For a moment, nothing else happened. Then another delegate rose. It was his massive rocky body grinding as he moved. "My daughter served on the Stone Heart during the battle," he rumbled. "She told me what happened after the Resolute made its final run. She said that the human captain's words changed everything. When he asked if we were willing to be brave, something shifted in the fleet. Ships that had been ready to retreat turned back to fight. Officers who had given up found the courage to try again." He paused. "My daughter said that she would not be alive if not for human stubbornness. I change my vote." More voices joined in. A representative admitted that the whisper had survived only because the Resolute drew the Leviathan's attention at a critical moment. A delegate acknowledged that human medical teams had helped treat survivors after the battle. A scientist revealed that humans had provided crucial data about the creature's biology that might help defend against future threats. The tide was turning. Ambassador watched his carefully built coalition fall apart with growing desperation. His scales shifted rapidly through colors that suggested panic. "This changes nothing," he insisted loudly. "One act of suicidal bravery does not erase centuries of human violence and instability. They fought wars among themselves for thousands of years. They nearly destroyed their own planet. They are emotional and unpredictable and dangerous. These fundamental facts remain true regardless of what happened at Prime." High Arbiter looked at him with something close to contempt. "Are they dangerous, Ambassador, or are they simply a threat to your dominance?" Her ancient eyes swept across the delegation. "Your species has controlled this council for 2,000 years. You have shaped galactic policy to benefit interests. Perhaps you see in humanity not a danger to galactic civilization, but a rival to your own power." Scales flushed dark red. "I will not stand here and be insulted by accusations without evidence. The Dominion has served this council faithfully for—" "Then prove it," Daniel said calmly. "Release all records related to the incident. Let independent investigators examine what your fleet did and did not do. Let the council see the full truth." The chamber waited, looked around at the delegates who had supported him just hours ago. Many of them were now watching him with suspicion and doubt. "The records will remain classified for security reasons," said finally. His voice was cold. "Of course they will," Lisa said. She turned back to the assembly. "The Resolute was not an exception. We have compiled records of 17 separate incidents over the past century where human ships provided aid during crises that other species ignored or fled from." The display lit up again. Images and recordings flashed across the holographic projectors. A human freighter ramming a pirate vessel to protect a convoy of refugees. Human doctors working around the clock on a plague-stricken station. Human engineers holding together a collapsing mining platform with nothing but basic tools and desperate determination. "We are not asking for power or territory or special treatment," Daniel said. "We just want to be part of something larger than ourselves. We want to contribute. We want to help." He paused. "And honestly, I think the galaxy could use a species that has not forgotten how to care about strangers." The chamber was quiet again, but the quality of the silence had changed. The mockery and contempt were gone. In their place was something that might have been respect or shame or both. High Arbiter raised her appendages. The council will recess for 2 hours. All delegations are advised to consult with their governments before the final vote. As the delegates began to disperse, Daniel and Lisa returned to their seats. For the first time since the session began, they allowed themselves to feel something like hope. "Do you think it worked?" Lisa asked quietly. Daniel watched the delegation hurrying out of the chamber. Scales had settled into a dull and defeated color. "I think everything just changed," Daniel said. "I just do not know yet whether it changed in our favor." The 2-hour recess stretched into 3 as delegations argued and negotiated behind closed doors. The human section remained quiet during the wait. Daniel and Lisa sat together, watching the other species come and go, unable to hear the conversations that would decide humanity's future. When the delegates finally returned to their seats, the atmosphere in the chamber had changed completely. The laughter and contempt that had filled the hall at the start of the session were gone. In their place was something more complicated. Some delegates looked at the humans with new respect. Others looked at them with fear. A few, including looked at them with hatred. High Arbiter took her position and called the assembly to order. Her ancient voice silenced the murmurs that had filled the vast space. "The Council has deliberated. The final vote on the motion to ban humanity from galactic trade routes, military alliances, and colonization will now be recorded." She paused. "All those in favor of the ban, register your votes now." Lights flickered across the chamber as delegations recorded their positions. Daniel watched the numbers appear on the central display. The count climbed steadily. 100, 150, 200. His heart sank as the number continued to rise. "All those opposed to the ban, register your votes now." More lights flickered. The opposition count began to climb as well. Daniel found himself holding his breath. "All abstentions, register now." A small number of lights appeared in the neutral column. Waited until all votes were recorded before announcing the results. On the motion to ban humanity from galactic affairs, 203 votes in favor, 211 votes opposed, 12 abstentions. Daniel stared at the numbers. He ran them through his head again to make sure he understood correctly. "The motion fails by 8 votes, announced. Humanity will not be banned from the galactic community." A wave of shock rippled through the chamber. Ambassador stood frozen in place. His scales had gone completely white. For the first time in history, a motion they had championed had been rejected by the council. Lisa grabbed Daniel's arm. Her composure had finally cracked and there were tears in her eyes. "We won," she whispered. "We actually won." But was not finished. Furthermore, the High Arbiter continued. "A secondary motion has been proposed by the collective and seconded by 37 member species." Daniel and Lisa exchanged confused glances. They had not expected anything beyond the original vote. Read from her official tablet. The motion is as follows. In recognition of the sacrifice made by the crew of the Earth vessel Resolute and the humans who gave their lives to save Prime, and in acknowledgement of humanity's demonstrated commitment to the principles of mutual aid and collective defense, the Galactic Council hereby offers the United Earth Coalition full membership status. This includes voting rights on all council matters, unrestricted access to galactic trade networks, and inclusion in the Mutual Defense Compact that binds all member species. The chamber erupted. Some delegations cheered and applauded. Others sat in stunned silence. The delegation stood up and walked out entirely, their white scales flushing red with rage as they departed. Daniel could not speak. Full membership had seemed like an impossible dream just hours ago. Now it was being offered as if humanity had always deserved it. Representative of the collective rose to address the chamber. "I proposed this motion because I was ashamed of myself. I mocked humanity this morning. I called them primitive and dangerous. I voted to cast them out." She paused. 300 humans died to save people they had never met, including someone I love. They did not ask for payment or recognition. They simply saw a need and filled it. That kind of courage deserves more than tolerance. It deserves respect. It deserves partnership. Other delegates spoke in support. The representative whose daughter served on the Stone Heart, the captain who had witnessed the Resolute's sacrifice firsthand, the scientist who had studied the Leviathan's remains and concluded that human innovation had made the kill possible. When the vote was called, the motion passed with over 300 votes in favor. Turned to face the human delegation directly. "Commander Hayes, Dr. Marsh, the sacrifice of the Resolute will not be forgotten. Your species has taught this council a valuable lesson that we should not have needed to learn." Her voice softened slightly. "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act when fear tells you to run. And compassion is not weakness. It is perhaps the greatest strength any species can possess." Daniel rose from his seat and walked to the central platform. His legs felt unsteady and his thoughts were racing, but his voice was clear when he spoke. "On behalf of humanity, I accept the Council's offer. We will honor the responsibilities of membership as faithfully as we have honored the obligations of our conscience." He looked up at the vast assembly, hundreds of species from thousands of worlds, civilizations that had been traveling among the stars when humans were still learning to control fire, a galaxy of wonders and dangers and possibilities that had once seemed beyond reach. "The crew of the Resolute did not die for recognition or reward," Daniel continued. "They died because they believed that every life has value worth protecting, human or otherwise, known or unknown. They died because they could not accept standing by while others suffered." He paused to let his words settle. "We will continue to uphold that belief, not because it benefits us, not because we expect anything in return, but because it is right. When the next crisis comes, when the next world faces destruction, humanity will be there. We will run toward the fire. We will fight the things that cannot be fought. We will sacrifice ourselves for strangers." He smiled slightly. "That is simply who we are." The applause that followed was not unanimous, but it was substantial. As Daniel returned to his seat, delegates from dozens of species approached to introduce themselves. Some offered apologies. Others offered alliances. All of them treated him with a respect that would have been unthinkable that morning. Later, as Daniel and Lisa boarded the shuttle that would return them to their ship, Lisa paused at the airlock and looked back at the massive structure of the council hall floating among the stars. "Do you think they will really accept us?" she asked. "Not just officially, but truly accept us as equals?" Daniel considered the question carefully. "Some will, some never will. They will probably hate us forever. Others will take time to adjust." He shrugged. "But that is not really the point." "Then what is?" "The point is that we showed up. When it mattered, we showed up. We did what was right even when no one expected us to, even when everyone else had given up." He looked out at the stars stretching endlessly in all directions. "How others respond to that is their choice. All we can control is our own actions." Lisa nodded slowly, then she laughed. "Was right about one thing. We are violent and emotional and unpredictable." "He just did not understand that those can be strengths," Daniel replied. The shuttle lifted off, carrying the human delegation away from the council hall and toward a future that had suddenly become much brighter. Behind them, 400 species were forced to accept a simple truth that they had tried to deny. Humanity was strange and chaotic and often foolish. They made decisions based on feelings. They formed attachments that clouded their judgment. They took risks that no rational species would consider. But when the darkness came and all hope seemed lost, humans would be there, running toward danger, refusing to calculate acceptable losses, choosing to save strangers even at the cost of everything. Sometimes, against all odds and reason, that made all the difference in the universe.